Hi everyone, Keegan here, and welcome back to another episode of The Modern Working Musician. My guest this week is Mr. Daniel Vargason. Daniel is a longtime friend of mine. We both went to UT Martin together, majoring in music. He's also a former full-time band director turned accountant, but he also still teaches marching percussion at Franklin High School. So we talk a little bit about what his life was like as a band director, his decisions for leaving education full-time, and actually how changing careers reinvigorated his love for teaching. Now, not only is Dan an educator, he's also a composer, arranger, designer, and he owns 2 of his own businesses aside from his 9-to-5 and teaching. So we get into how he stays organized doing all of those things. We talk about what it takes to start your own business. We talk about his artistic expression through composition. We talk about at what point a hobby becomes a career or a business and some of the deciding factors therein. This episode was very wide-ranging, and we definitely left the door open for a round 2 in the future so we can dive in just a little bit more. Before we get started, I do have to let you know that we do have a Patreon page, patreon.com/KeeganPaluso. $5 a month gets you access to everything we have, any bonus footage, educational materials, anything extra we've got, and anything we will add in the future is just $5 a month. But without further ado, please enjoy this fantastic conversation with my dear friend, Mr. Daniel Vargason. Cool.
Are you in?
I think we are rolling. All right. Welcome back to, got to move my mic, another episode of The Modern Working Musician. Woo! Where every week or every episode, we talk to somebody who is making ends meet in music in one way or another, because there's no one set job in music anymore. This episode is my longtime friend, Mr. Daniel Vargason.
Yep.
Yeah. Dan is an accountant for several. He works for an accountant.
A few things, yeah.
Will you talk about what you do real quick, Dan? Because I'm bad at it.
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of hard to keep up with. Even if I'm like saying it out loud, it starts to sound like a lot of things. So I do have like a normal 9-to-5 day job at a natural gas and ethanol trading business. And there I basically do like, it's going to sound super nerdy. I do like the forward valuation of all of our contracts. So basically just like how much money we think we're going to make from things we're going to do in the future.
Cool. Got it.
So that's the 9-to-5. And luckily that job is flexible enough and, good to me enough that I'm able to venture into some other like financial kind of side jobs. Mm-hmm. One of those being, and I'm about to get really busy with it, I do a lot of like tax prep during this time of year. And also a little bit of bookkeeping. So I have my own financial business that I just kind of started last year.
Yeah, Vargason Financial.
Vargason
right?
Financial, yep. Oh, shameless plugs.
Hey, I support it. Free ad time, man.
Yeah,
Free ad time.
Yeah. So I do that a little bit. And then I'm also, I do a little bit of percussion judging. So like indoor drumline judging or like fall marching band judging. I do a little bit of that.
Cool.
I'm actually going out next weekend to the Carolinas. Have not even been to the Carolinas before.
Nice.
So first trip, best trip.
Now, is this high school indoor?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think there might be a couple independent groups too.
Very cool.
But I think it's mostly like a high school premiere show.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Very cool, man.
Yeah.
I just heard a noise. Okay, I think we're good. So.
Word. And then I also founded a company called Backbeat Inc.
Cool.
And we do like marching band and indoor like program designs, and we do like arranging, and we do like adjudication coordination where we'll like get judges for your competitions.
That's super cool, man.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a one-stop shop for marching percussion.
Right. Yeah. So it's just like, I remember whenever I was a band director, I also did that before doing any of this.
Oh yeah.
I have a music ed degree, and we went to college together.
Right.
Played plenty
Go Skyhawks.
Yeah. Go Skyhawks. I don't remember the fight song though. I think they all kind of go like that though, right?
Yeah, it all sounds like it's
I do remember that. Yeah. So after graduating from UTM, I went and taught at my alma mater, McNary Central High School in West Tennessee. I taught there for 4 years. And,
very cool.
Yep, and I did like middle school feeder program stuff and a lot of percussion, like high school percussion, and also taught like middle school percussionists as well.
Awesome, man. So your career kind of runs the gamut as far as everything. And
Yep.
it's really cool having somebody like you on the show that does, you could say, two very, very different things.
Yeah, left side, right side.
Yeah, like you're very like detail, or not necessarily like just one detail oriented job, but it's like accounting and then something in the arts.
Yeah.
So we can go ahead and dive into it. How
Sure.
would you say like having a job that's very like analytical like that, and then having a job in the arts? How would you say they would complement each other, influence each other? What's the good side? What's the bad side?
I think that it makes me, if I'm in, let's say I'm at the high school that I teach. Let's say I'm there. It just makes me look at things in a more structured way.
Cool.
From like an admin standpoint. And so like I'm a lot better about communication and like scheduling and budgeting and like things like that for what I do with that high school than I was whenever that was my role.
Gotcha.
You know, because that's just like, you know, like being in like the music type of like world, we're not really exposed a lot to like the business, at least from like communication and just like, you know, being really good at Excel, you know, like those kinds of things.
Yeah, and that's one reason I'm excited to have you on this show is because I do feel like a lot of times music, we're artistic to a fault in the sense that it's got to be all about the art all the time. We don't worry about the details, and that can get a lot of artists in a lot of trouble because we want to sacrifice everything for the sake of the art, and that's not always the best way to go about things. I do want to go back just a little bit because I don't think I've ever asked you this question, like why marching percussion?
I think like it just clicked for me. I had a really cool percussion instructor, Jeff Miller, who like marched 1998 Blue Nights, and I think that was when like Ralph Hardiman was like the guy there, and it was, you know, he got us really motivated, and it's kind of rare, and I mean, you know, like in that type of area in West Tennessee, it's rare to have like a really good like percussion program.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like with everybody bought in and like kind of like leading the pack, and he kind of brought that to that school.
Yeah, I do. I definitely agree. Like, especially in those formative years in your life, finding something that special, kind of like a diamond in the rough, and being a part of that, it's kind of hard to like that stays with you for the rest of your life, no matter what you do. It's like, you know, I've been away from the marching arts for like 4 or 5 years now, and it's still in the like it will never go away, no matter what.
You know, I mean, like a lot of people won't just get down and say it, but.
Yeah. Now, I've coming from like a very songwritery side of things too. Where do you find your artistic expression in an ensemble like that? That's so, because it has to be very organized and unified to put something like that on the field. Some people could see that as like not, or being very hard to be expressive because you have to have such a unified vision. So where do you find your artistic expression in the marching arts?
I think it's mostly just like the music that I listen to, you know, like I think I'm influenced by everything that I listen to, and it's like a bunch of different types of genres, you know, like I was brought up, you know, I remember riding in my dad's 95 Silverado listening to like Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, all the old rock. And I feel like, you know, my like outlet for creativity right now is really in the writing. You know, I get to write at the school that I teach at, and you're right, it's very structured, like the way that the program is designed. Like they say, let's keep it pretty much straight to what the original was, or like listen to this type of music, you know, make it feel like that. And so I think it's just like finding your space in those parameters to kind of show the expression. You know, if I have a couple of bars where I can throw in something really cool that's like really what I feel there, then I do it, you know?
Yeah, that's really cool. And it reminds me, do you know who David Byrne is from Talking Heads?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was a big thing on him a couple of years ago where him and St. Vincent, I don't know if you listen to St. Vincent, I'm obsessed with St. Vincent, but they did a color guard competition. And like him, St. Vincent, like 2 or 3 other like major label pop artists, each of them got a high school winter guard together. Did you not know about this? Yeah, they got together and they designed, like each of them like designed a show with these high school color guards and had a winter guard contest. And because David Byrne looked at these ensembles like winter guard and indoor drumline, he's like, this is the future of art.
Yeah, right.
Like whether we realize it or not.
Yeah.
So
Agree. Like, if you go to what they call WGI championships, which is basically just like the indoor percussion and like color guard, like the world championships, like you just see all these crazy things that these ensembles are doing while like they're flying across the floor, like live sampling, like so much is like going into like the electric side of it, like lighting, you know what I mean? Like there's just so like, wireless miking, moving wireless mics across like the floor. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I definitely think it's on the cutting edge. Let me turn your mic up real quick.
Word.
That mic is super. You have to like.
You just gotta like.
You got to get up on it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I just don't want you to hear all my breathing.
Oh, you're good, man. I can gate all that out if I need to. But no, I definitely agree, and I think a lot of that technology is on the cutting edge of like live sound and stuff. Like
Right.
I think it was the Blue Coats Drum Corps. Like one of their guys was like the live sound engineer for like Cirque du Soleil or something like that.
Yeah, and that's one of the groups that's like really like leading the way in really just the whole world, right? Because DCI is really the peak of that activity.
Yeah, so like DCI, WGI, like they're kind of like on the cutting edge. They're doing the new stuff. How are you seeing that being implemented like in high schools right now? Like at Franklin, how is some of those like the new ideas and techniques and artistry influencing a school like Franklin?
Right. So luckily, I work with people that, you know, humble me daily, right? Like their backgrounds are just incredible. Like, all marched at world-class organizations or went to like a world-class like high school organization or things like that. And so, you know, the way that we really stay up to date, I guess is the right way to put it, on what's going on is, you know, most of us will go to like the BOA, which is like the high school championship. We'll either go to those as participants or we'll just go to watch. I went this year and watched. But it's really like studying BOA, WGI, and DCI, the groups we've already talked about, and just really trying to implement a lot. For us this year was our front ensemble miking. And so we just really, we have a very gracious band director. We made a really big push to make our front ensemble sound as good as they already play. You know, like they're playing out of the world. And, you know, I think that if you went back and watched last year to this year, you would just immediately hear, you know, we're doing a lot of wireless miking all across the field. A lot.
It almost makes me wish like audio engineering, because me and my buddy Mike were talking about this the other day, like audio engineering, I feel like in music production should be like a high school topic now.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be a perfect place too in a high school program to like have student audio engineers and stuff.
100%. 100%.
So,
like
put a bug in your ear, man.
I know. We need to call up to the high school and tell them to start that program up.
Yeah.
I need somebody just to run Logic, make us sounds, our sound design, do all of it. Yeah.
Now, do y'all use Mainstage too?
We use Mainstage.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to pick your brain on Mainstage because I just got it. I have no idea how.
No, I'm not too keen on it.
Okay.
I'm not too keen on it, but my front ensemble guy is.
Okay, cool. I'll holler at him because
All right,
I
deal.
just got it. Because I'm pretty well versed in Logic, but yeah, Mainstage is strange and foreign to me. So you were in public school educator, like you were full time band director at your old high school.
Yep.
And then you transitioned into accounting.
Yep.
If you want to, I'd like to get into like a little bit of what your deciding factor was to go from being a full-time band director to what you do now. We don't have to if you don't want to.
No, we can do it. We can do
cool.
it. We can do it because it's a hot topic, right? Like
Oh,
right
yeah,
now.
like, where did Dan go?
Oh no. What I'm about to say. So really two things, you know, and I don't want it to sound like the way it's going to sound, right? But the way that I'm wired, like I just wanted every one of my days to be, I wanted the outcome to be because of my actions totally, right? And so it didn't matter if like I was on top of my game every day. If somebody had like gotten broken up with by their boyfriend or girlfriend that day, like they might be checked out that day. And that's nothing that I can control, right? And I mean, I feel for them. I can empathize with that for sure, right? But like that connection between what I'm trying to teach and what they're going to get out of it doesn't really exist, right?
But you know, you left. You're an accountant now, but you also still teach. How would you say that has reinvigorated your love of teaching, though?
Oh, I do it because I want to do it. You know, like it's a choice for me now. Like it's. You know, I loved my 4 years that I taught, right? But whenever I woke up in the morning, I was still waking up and I was going to a job. right? Like it was my job. Whereas now it's like, I'm not going to necessarily say it's like not my job, because it for sure is, and I treat it as such, but
Yeah.
it's because I want to do it. You know, I'm not like financially in a place where like if it didn't happen where I would just go under, right?
Yeah. Food would still be on the table if you weren't there.
Yeah, I do it because I love it. And now like whenever I like talk to any of my band director friends, and they're all, you know, sometimes they'll just be like, oh, I got rehearsal today. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, oh, that's awesome. You know, like I'm on the other end, like, yeah, that's so cool. And
Yeah.
they're like, no, you don't know.
So that's really interesting. Cool. So we talked a little bit about how your jobs kind of influence each other. You know, I would like to get into that just a little bit more though, because you're an accountant. How would you say being an educator influences your job as an accountant? Because we talked about how an accountant influences your job as an educator. Is it vice versa or not at all?
I think it is vice versa, because I remember whenever I was first going through the interview process for whenever I got out of MTSU for accounting, and I was trying to get into this Big Four accounting firm called Ernst & Young, EY. And so their interview process is pretty like strenuous. So I went through like 2 or 3 rounds of it. And every interview that they asked me, they would ask like, tell me about a time that you were in a difficult situation, or tell me about a time where you had to manage, you know what I mean? Like those behavioral kind of questions. It always related back to like teaching.
Cool.
You know, it was like I was able to manage children. I was able to make children be good time managers. You know, was responsible for X amount of students, like education. And so I think that part of it, like sometimes gets missed from people that like don't teach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so for me, it was pretty seamless to kind of like integrate, you know, being able to teach children and interact with parents and admin to, oh, you work at a desk now and you have to interact with other people your age, and, you know, your admin are now like your managers and senior managers. So it was, you know, there's a lot of people that get scared to talk to higher ups, but for me, it was no big deal.
Very cool. Yeah, I know one of our band director friends, Gary Fight, he always says a lot of band directors go into like, oh yeah, shout out to Gary.
Shout out to Gary, Fight Club.
But a lot of his ex band director friends go into like crisis management and stuff, because like you have a room full of 150 children, they all have musical instruments, and not only are you supposed to get them to just be quiet, but you have to get them to work together. And
so many different techniques.
Right. So it's project management 101 for sure. Cool. Awesome.
It also made it, going back to school the second time, so much easier.
Dude, I thought about, because I was a terrible student my first time.
I loved being a student the second time.
Man.
Yeah.
If I went back right now, I would graduate with the 4.0.
I was the nerdiest student the second time.
Oh, I would be too.
Did all my homework. I studied.
Oh yeah. See that? Yeah. Part of me just wants to go back just to see how well I would do, because the first round was so bad.
Accounting is awesome.
This whole podcast is just a push for you to get me into accounting. That's what it is. Accounting bros. All right, cool. So I would like to dive into, so you have your own company, Backbeat Inc.
Backbeat Inc.
The one-stop shop for marching percussion people who need for people who need marching percussion. How did that start?
So I've been writing, whether it's like front ensemble or battery or full percussion, since, I mean, I guess it was a couple years after I'd graduated. My old band director asked me if I would write some parts for like the front ensemble. I said, yeah, sure. I was terrible at it. You know, like I was really bad at it, but I always like loved to write. I remember being in high school and watching like 1995 Cavaliers on YouTube over and over and over, and trying to just really like transcribe what they were writing or what they were playing. You know what I mean? And so like that always interested me. I was really bad at it that first year, but I tried really hard and it ended up being okay. And so somehow he asked me again. I ended up getting the job there. And so I started writing there. And so I wrote their book while I was there. And then while I was there, you know, the kids were great. The parents were great. They worked really hard. We had some good successes. And so I just started, you know, reaching out to people, asking, hey, you need somebody to write your book?
Yeah. You wrote for UT Martin too while you were there, didn't you?
A couple of years. I was thinking about this the other day. I can't remember if I wrote it the senior year while I was there and the year after, or the 2 years after. I don't remember, but that's...
I think you were there the first year you wrote.
I think so too.
Because I was still,
Yeah, and that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and so then after I left McNary Central and moved up here, I started taking on more gigs, and you know, every year it kind of fluctuates whether it's more or less. After I got the job at Franklin, I pretty much like only wrote for Franklin this last summer, I guess. I kind of like put everything else on hold and only wrote for them. And kind of now I feel pretty good where I'm at there that we're going to dive right back in. Like,
Cool.
Yeah. Big
Getting
time.
on people and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. So you started writing, and then you started working with some more people, and that's how the Backbeat Inc. kind of thing got started.
Yeah.
So it's not just you; it's you and a couple other people.
It's me and some guys that I worked with at Franklin. One of them was the old band director that, I mean, was incredible, right? Great human being above all. Yeah, so I worked with Franklin whenever I came back up here. Michael Holland, who was this really cool story. Like, Michael Holland was my drum captain in high school. Pretty much kept me in band like 2 or 3 times.
That's cool.
Because I was going to quit to play football. Come on. Like,
yeah.
You don't see me. I could be in the NFL right now.
Ah, man. Swinging
But
and
he kept
missing.
me. He kept me in. And whenever he found out that I was moving up this way, he brought me to Franklin. Very grateful. And I mean, I remember, like, it's just different. I remember standing in front of that group, and I was only in charge that year of just teching the battery. And I remember being intimidated. Like,
Really?
Yeah, it's like one of the only times in my teaching career that I've been intimidated.
Dang.
You know, was by like that group. And, you know, you grow into it and you get used to it. But it was really cool. It's a really cool experience. I've worked with some other groups around here that are, you know, do the WGI thing and are awesome too.
Cool.
But made my way back to
Very
Franklin.
cool. Now, when you started up Backbeat Inc.,
Yep.
did you apply for a business license and all that
Not
stuff?
immediately. So whenever I first started doing it, it was just so like one-off. You know how the activity is. Like, you might write one book. I might have one project or 2 or 3 in like specific seasons. And so like at the time I wasn't really thinking like, oh, this could be like, you know, this could be bigger.
Right.
And so I was just running it through like, you know, normal other income on my tax return. Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so this past year though, we did file for an LLC. So it's a single member LLC. Yep.
Cool. And I guess that's another thing I wanted to dive into. Let's say I'm a freelancer and I'm thinking about getting my business license. What would you say would be like that drawing point as far as like financially goes and stuff like that? At what point would you say, all right, it's time to get your business license?
So I'm going to push up my glasses here. The IRS says that, you know, like, there's a difference in like a hobby and a business, right? A hobby is something that maybe you just make money here and there on it, but it's not really something that you expect to grow and be profitable in the future. And so I think that's like the real question, like, and be realistic about it. You know, like, I could say, oh yeah, I'm going to write 1 million shows this year and I'm going to make $10 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I could say that, but, you know, I think being realistic about it, at what point that like kind of flips over to the business side is kind of a judgment call.
Yeah.
But I think we all kind of know.
Yeah. I think that's a really good litmus test as far as what you're doing though too, is like, are we actually ready to call this a business?
Yeah.
Are we being realistic? And it kind of force you to, I guess, crunch the numbers and apply for your business license.
Yeah, and
stuff
just
like
be
that.
like ready for it, you know, like know like all the steps. And I took the easy route for Backbeat. I did LegalZoom, and it was easy and great. It cost a little money, but they did all of it, you know, and that was pretty easy. But you can do it for next to nothing, like filing all the paperwork yourself too.
Were there any like unforeseen hitches with starting a business like that as far as paperwork or anything like that? Which it might have been easier on your end just because you're an accountant and stuff.
Yeah, nothing that really stuck out to me that I was just like, oh, whoa. But I had like, again, like I had seen it. Just knowing when to file your business license, like knowing to do it, you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like knowing that you should do it.
Yeah. Now I've done a little bit of digging. Like there's like sole proprietorship, LLC, and then corporation.
Yep.
Those are like the big 3. Am I correct?
And then like partnerships are in there and
I
like things
gotcha.
like that too.
And a sole proprietorship is like if you get nailed by the IRS, like they can take your house, right?
Yeah.
And like the biggest way I know is like LLC. Like they can't take your house if you go bankrupt.
Right. Yeah. It's just of the company. Right. Mhm.
Okay, cool. So would that be, not to just garner a bunch of free financial advice, but is that usually the route to go, like an LLC and something?
So yeah, so the LLC kind of separates you a little bit more
I gotcha.
from your business, even though like your LLC might be a single member LLC. It might just be you.
I
Right.
gotcha.
The sole proprietorship, you also have like a self-employment tax that you got to be pretty aware of in there too. It's pretty substantial as well. The LLC, you don't have that. They both kind of have like their advantages and disadvantages, but
I gotcha. But for
yeah,
you,
I think the LLC is definitely the route to go, and you can also do like an S corp at some point, and that's like a whole different subject.
I got you. Yeah,
But-
I won't dive into like accounting with Dan. but
Yeah, that's a different podcast.
Oh yeah. We'll definitely dive in, but that is one of the reasons.
Episode 1.
That's going to be your thing.
Yeah.
The spinoff series, accounting with Dan. No, but
Do they
that
have
is.
spin-off podcasts? Is that a thing?
We just made it a thing.
It is a thing.
But no, very cool. Because yeah, that's one of the main questions I wanted to ask you. Like being a freelancer and stuff. Like when is it time to start a business?
Mm-hmm.
If you are going to start a business, like what should you do? Are there any things? Like if I wanted to start a business, like is there anything that I should look out for that maybe you would advise that you've seen before that people usually don't look out for?
I think it's the taxes,
Yeah.
Like it's what I do, right? The tax
yeah,
prep on it. Like I know, and being in that boat, like before, I'm gonna knock your microphone over.
I was like, it's sturdy.
It's sturdy one. I could just. Okay.
Yeah, just punch it. No.
I remember before I got into accounting, you just don't think of it, right? You're not like exposed to that world, and so whenever I made money, I was like, oh, cool, this $1,000, it's all mine, right? Not thinking about Uncle Sam that said, oh, no, hold on, whoa.
Yeah.
Like X percentage of that is mine too. And so, I mean, that's like definitely the advice is know that everything you make is not yours, right? A certain percentage. I would say like just to be safe, throw 30% back.
Yeah, that's what like my brother, because he's pretty much totally self-employed now. He just has a savings account, and 30% of everything he makes just goes into a savings account.
Yeah, it's easy that way.
That way, yeah, when tax season rolls around, he just pays in.
Yeah, I've had a few clients that have been burned, and just
Really?
been like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, man.
yeah. Keep up with your expenses too.
Oh yeah, cool. Is there any special software you use as far as like keeping up with your freelance expenditures and stuff like that? I know some people use like QuickBooks.
Yeah, I use QuickBooks. Tax software I use is like a Pro series, like an Intuit Pro series.
I gotcha.
That normal public doesn't really use.
Yeah.
They'll use like the TurboTax if they do it themselves.
Gotcha. Which means you should call Dan if you need your taxes done.
Shameless plug.
Well, very cool. So let me see what I got written down real quick. Let me pick up my iPad.
All right, deal. Elevator music. Here's some elevator
Okay, cool.
music.
We already talked about taxes, but I already had this question written down. So it just says, as a freelancer and one who works with a lot of freelancers, what are 1 to 3, you don't have to give me 3, essential pieces of advice, financial advice you would give?
Financial advice. 1, I mean, we just talked about it. Like keep up with your keep up with how much money you make. Like start an Excel file and keep up with it, and be really specific about it, like the date, what it was for, like all those things. I mean, it can easily pile up and you can easily forget things. Like it'll take 10 seconds to update your Excel file. You know what I mean? Like number 2, learn how to use Excel.
Oh yeah.
Like
2, Excel.
just be really organized, I guess.
I gotcha.
Would be, I guess that's golden nugget number 2.
Cool.
Number 1, keep up with your taxes. 2, be really organized. And I think that's like for your whole freelance business. You know?
Just keep track of your paperwork and all that stuff.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I don't guess this is really like a financial one, but just be a good communicator.
Oh yeah. You can say it. You
Can
can
I say it?
You can say it.
This is at nobody specifically, because it was me. It was
Oh, yeah.
me too. Band directors are terrible communicators.
Oh
And
yeah.
I guess I'm a terrible speaker. My communicators.
Come here.
Come on, chameleon. Yeah, just return emails. Like as soon as you get them. I mean, it still happens to me where you get an email and you see like the preview where it's just like, hey, Daniel, can you? And you just like immediately go into like semi-dread, like,
Yeah.
like for no reason at all.
Yeah.
Like take it, address it, like knock it out.
Right.
Keep everything moving.
I'm the worst about Facebook Messenger
Oh, yeah.
because the way a lot of the Memphis music scene operates is through Facebook. Like the
Really?
majority of gigs I play and land
cool.
are through Facebook.
Huh.
But like anytime I get a notification on Facebook Messenger, I automatically just dread looking at it.
Yeah.
It could just be like, "Hey, happy birthday."
Yeah, it
And
could
I
be
just-
like, hey, you're so awesome.
yeah, like I think everybody has like, I guess they might have their Achilles heel, like
Yeah.
communication source. But yeah, like Facebook Messenger, I'm terrified of
Right.
everything I get on there.
Yeah, and I mean, it can be. I don't know why, like, because you have to do something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
just email back, text back, call back. The way I do it is like I won't even check it until I know that I'm gonna respond. So I have a couple of texts in my phone. Sorry, anybody that is waiting a response from me.
That's a good method though.
Yeah, I just leave it so I still see the 1 or 2, whatever it is, and I do the same for emails and
Very cool.
message or two.
All right. This is my last question I wrote down. It says, what books, if any, would you recommend to someone freelancing? Or are there any books that you have recently given out?
Yeah, there was one that I recently gave out like today to you. It is The Alchemist.
It's in my backpack. Hold on. I'll go get it out of my backpack.
More elevator music. More elevator.
Here we go.
And I needed you to get the book because I'm not going to be able to say his last name. Paulo
Coelho. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, Coelho, The Alchemist. It's a really cool book. It's a fiction, but it's basically about a boy that is going to find what they call their personal legend.
That sounds super awesome.
Which is basically like your reason for living, your reason for being, and it really goes into like all these interactions that the boy has into like this really deep level. It's really cool. That's a good one. This one that I'm currently reading, I think, is going to be really, really good. It's called Show Your Work.
Cool.
And then the other one I think that I was going to try to show you, or I showed you earlier, is called You're a Badass, which is basically just, as it says, you're a badass.
That's cool. Is it like just motivational?
Yeah, it's like self-motivational stuff. Like I really like, shamelessly, I really like those kinds of books. You know, like
dude, same
all
here.
the self-help books.
Dude, have you read Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss?
No, what's that?
Dude, I'm going to get...
Tools of Titans.
You'll have a present coming in the mail here soon.
I love it.
So, do you know Tim Ferriss? He wrote the 4-Hour Work Week.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he has a podcast, which is this show is a straight up ripoff of. It's called Tim Ferriss Show, where he just gets people on his show and picks their brain and stuff. But he went down to make like a Spark Notes of like his podcast, and they ended up turning it into a book called Tools of Titans.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so like there's like it's short like Cliff Notes interviews with everybody on his podcast, from like Arnold Schwarzenegger to like just all these famous people, CEOs, all that stuff. I usually read like one person every morning.
That's cool.
And it's just like it's like a morning kick in the pants.
Is it so he just like basically summarizes like the interviews that he did?
Yeah,
that's cool.
Oh, dude, it's super cool. It's
really cool.
Probably one of my favorite and one of my more gifted books, like that. And Atomic Habits by James Clear are like my two.
Dude, I love those books. You know, I love books about like being creative. There's a couple shows that I started watching. I think there's a new one on Netflix that we started watching called Abstract. And it's called Abstract. It's about art. It's really cool, but it's not like art, like all paint. We watched one on like stage design.
Oh yeah.
And then we watched one on like shoe design. There's one on like fonts. It's really cool. It's like really modern. It's
dude,
really
cool. My wife would love that. I'm gonna check that out. So I just got another idea for a question too. One thing I think is really crucial, and I'd like to dive into a little bit with you, is like most of us who are in the arts, like we find our personal identity with our art, and there's a lot. I feel like there's also a lot of like social pressure to make your art your identity, not just your career. So like me playing music and being a music educator, like, and you know how it is when you're a band director, like that's who you are.
You're a band director.
Like you're Dan Vargason, the band director, and that is your identity. When you left teaching, did you feel like any like social pressure on your identity?
It was different.
Really?
It's different. It's working in West Tennessee in a public high school and working at one of the 4 largest accounting firms in the world, like opposite ends of the spectrum. You know what I mean? Like, and just everything from like what you wear every day, you know, and the way you interact and the way you communicate. Like everything was just, it was a lot different. You know, it was kind of like hitting reset on like a few years of my life and saying, well, you know, what if you would went back in time and done it like this way, business, right? It was different, but you know, I like, and I use this in interviews too. People ask me like, what's one of your greatest strengths? I think I'm really adaptable.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I think that I fit pretty well, like in any kind of like scenario, like I can make myself fit like a chameleon. That's kind of creepy.
Daniel Vargason, chameleon accountant.
The chameleon accountant.
That's your podcast.
But yeah, I mean, and I think that it is tough. You know, it's tough to kind of fit that kind of lifestyle after living a different one.
I got you.
But really, like coming back into it, I don't really feel that.
Cool. Would you say, not to get too like meta, like who is Dan Vargason, but like how do you feel like your I guess, artistic identity. Artistic identity. Ooh, I butchered that. Yeah. How would you feel like that's changed now that you like have a 9 to 5 and then do like music, like what you love about music?
You tell me. What's my artistic identity?
I don't know, because like everybody sees you like I said, being a band director. Everybody's like,
right.
This. And I use my dad case in point as a lot of this. Like my dad, like he's a project manager for a conveyor belt company. Like me being a music educator, like everybody's like Keegan, the music guy. But people don't look at my dad and go like, Keith Peluso, the conveyor belt project manager.
I still think I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
Like even whenever I was at EY. Like the last year I was there, I did the Tennessee Titans drum line, and like some of my coworkers would like see me there, and they would like take Snapchats, be like, "Oh, look, I work with this drummer," blah blah blah.
I got you.
And so I was always kind of the drummer, and even where I am now, like I'm still the drummer. So I guess it just kind of followed.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah.
And from what you said, like there's less social pressure now too. So it's like it's all of the good with way less of the bad.
Right. Yeah. I'm kind of like what they say, living your best life.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like kind of living my best life.
Like you can have a beer at a restaurant without catching weird eyes.
Right. Yeah. Which don't give your teachers that are over 21 weird eyes for drinking a beer.
Yeah.
They deserve it.
Yeah, they've earned it.
They have earned it. I promise.
Anyway, well, very cool, man. I'm glad things are going so well with all of that too. I'm trying to think of anything else. Any parting wisdom?
Dude, you're the bomb. You're crushing it. That's all I needed to say.
Oh, thanks, man.
Dude,
it's been awesome having you on here.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Maybe we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I would love to come back at some point and, if it's okay with you, get a much further like in-depth breakdown on being financially responsible as a freelancer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we could definitely do that. And maybe by then, like I'll have a couch in here. Sorry, we're in my bonus room. I just moved into this house like literally 1 week ago, and we have these 2 stools in here. My computer's in here.
I think it looks good, man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known.
It looks college really good.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
it looks like Chapel Ridge.
Yeah, it does. Taking it way back.
Oh, yeah, Chapel Ridge. God, there are a lot of inside jokes in this podcast episode.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I wonder if anybody will figure them out.
I don't know. I
hope not.
Just go to Martin, Tennessee for a little while. You'll learn all our inside jokes.
Cool.
Well, this has been a blast,
man.
Yeah,
same. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate it. I think we're good for now. So,
Word.
One more time, thanks to Dan Vargason, and this has been another episode of The Modern Working Musician, and we'll see you guys next time. All right, man.